As the bloodshed continues on both sides in the conflict between Israel and Hamas, world leaders are continuing their calls to end the fighting. So far, though, diplomatic efforts have not been able to stop the hostilities. Lending his voice today was UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon.
The violence must stop. It must stop now. All sides must provide the necessary space to aid the victims, assist the wounded, and extend the relief to trapped civilians.
Ban Ki-moon and U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry in Cairo, Egypt today to try and salvage some kind of a ceasefire proposal, one that was tabled by the Egyptians last week. Israel accepted, agreeing to an unconditional ceasefire, but resumed its offensive after Hamas had rejected that original proposal. Hamas is refusing to comply until the 7-year-long blockade of Gaza, the economic blockade, lifted. Egypt says it has no plans to change the conditions of that original proposal. Joining us to talk a little bit more about this now is Grant Rumley. He is a research analyst specializing in Middle East politics at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And Grant, let's talk about why it is so difficult, at this point anyway, in this conflict, to agree to a ceasefire, to come to some kind of arrangement that both sides can deal with.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. To address your point, Hamas has at this point been issuing a list of demands that Israel has seen as not fair, to say the least. Hamas demands an end to the siege. Hamas wants the Rafah border crossing with Egypt to be open. They want the free flow of humanitarian goods to come in and out of Gaza. They don't want Egyptian presence on the border. They're very suspicious of Egyptians in this current round of negotiations. And these are all positions that are almost are certainly very antagonistic to the Israeli position of security concerns with Gaza. Obviously, the Israeli objective here has been to eradicate the tunnels and to secure the borders and to make sure that weapons and arms cannot get into Gaza.
We know the death toll now has topped 500, and I'm curious, in terms of the way you frame this, a timeline here, how long do you think this Israeli offensive will continue? Israel is saying it'll stay there as long as it needs to in order to shut down these tunnels and take away Hamas's ability to fire rockets into Israel. How long might that take, Grant?
Well, these Israeli estimates have this operation going on indefinitely until their objectives are fulfilled. The latest reports we have from the region, however, show that Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority leader and president, has met with Khalid Mashal, the leader of Hamas, in Doha, and they have ironed out some type of agreement in which Hamas will agree to principles of the Egyptian ceasefire. Now, the next phase of these negotiations is getting Hamas and Fatah to present this position under the international auspices of the UN and the US with Israel and get Israel to agree with this. Obviously, the Hamas positions of open borders and free flow of goods and a lifting of the siege are untenable to Israel, but it will take negotiations. I'd expect this to last at least another 48 hours until we have something palpable on the table.
And I guess at that point, Israel will reconsider its options. When you talked about this being a longer offensive, I mean, in order to actually attain those goals, to get at all the tunnels that may exist out there, to get at all the rockets that may exist out there, that is a very comprehensive operation.
It's a very extensive operation. Yes, you're absolutely right in that. Israeli army estimates estimate that about 20% of Hamas's store of rockets have been fired already at this point, and that between 30 to 40% of the remaining rockets have been destroyed by IDF operations. What Israel's made it very clear is that they will be very wary of mission creep in this offensive. They are not looking to overthrow Hamas. They are not looking to reoccupy Gaza. What they're looking for is an answer to their security dilemma and their security concerns. They're looking for a long-term quiet, a ceasefire. And if the latest reports are anything to indicate, it appears as if other Palestinians and other Arab delegations have pressured Hamas, at least politically, to agree to this.
Grant, thank you for taking time to talk to us today from Washington. We appreciate your insights.
Thank you for having me.